Orwellian newspeak. Words change. Propaganda is a terrible word. We don't use it anymore. Well, people will say, propaganda, no, not in the Western world, not in a democracy. Democracy, that's another thing I have to talk about in a bit. But, just put this down a second, see if I can get myself in the image. Vain bastard that I am. Propaganda is considered bad, okay? But terms like perceptual programming, okay? The idea of using diplomatic speak to manipulate the population, that's not propaganda, because it has a different name, okay? Arose by any other name. Our freedom, our liberty. Freedom and liberty. It's a complicated argument, because in reality, what is freedom? How can you truly be free? How can we make people free? Governments think about this. People think about this. Have you ever thought about it? Do you know that some people have actually classed two forms of liberty? They have a positive liberty and a negative liberty. And if you don't know what those are, the link that I have provided here will take you to a documentary, okay, which I put in a playlist. Watch it. This will be an eye-opener. It has to be something you have to consider. And at the very end, there is a final question, or a final statement, about liberty and these forms of thoughts. My personal thought on freedom, okay, concerns our freedom of free will. Free will is a very subjective thing, okay? I'm free to do whatever I want, okay? I'm free to believe whatever I want, and ironically that's a very common argument in the Christian idea. We believe in God, I'm free to believe in God, God gave us free will, no he didn't, yes he did. Confusion. Free will is subjective, okay? And responsibility, unfortunately, is generally very objective in the fact that it's their responsibility. I'm free to do what I want, and it's their responsibility, okay? Now, until you can project your free will versus an objective ideology and bring your responsibility, your sense of responsibility more subjective, so you feel and you follow that responsibility, there can be no idea of freedom. My thoughts on personal freedom, okay? Now, freedom is concerning with the free will. We have the free will to do as we wish. If you enter into Schopenhauer's thoughts, it's a little different. Schopenhauer doesn't agree with that. Neither do I, to a great extent. I mean, personal freedom, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but unfortunately you live in a world surrounded by others. And people have their subjective free will. And often, if not always, we have objective responsibility. Now, until we can, all of us, project outwards more objectively our idea of free will, freedom, and bring that sense of responsibility closer to a subjective form, therefore we all take responsibility, okay, for our free acts, there can be no free will, which goes to the governmental, the theoretical, philosophical form of positive and negative liberty, okay, where the government basically installs the model, okay. In the negative form, which you will see in the documentary that I have linked, okay, basically everyone's free to do as they want, okay, or believe that they are, but unfortunately everybody is controlling everybody else. The system works that way. It falls down. It was not a complete idea. In the positive form, they're forced to perform, to accept their liberty for their own good. Any enforced freedom is not freedom, and true freedom to limitless extent cannot exist. People often talk about anarchy, and anarchy in the sense of no government. But if there's no government, then you have to govern yourself, which means taking responsibility. And if you're not capable of governing yourself, it's pointless. It's completely pointless complaining about government. So until individuals understand and are led to understand the importance of archaea, which is that self-governing part, then there can be nothing else other than governmental control.
The fundamental dilemma is this: how do we reconcile liberty with security in this new world? When a crime goes unpunished, that is a breach of the victim's liberty and human rights.
Well said, Tony. Now, are you going to prove that you meant those words? I mean, if the sacrifice is small and the cause is great, then surely a man of his word would follow that. No crime must go unpunished. Do you mean those? Were you saying what you actually truly meant? Or were you just talking? Listen, Tony, Mr. Blair, you talk about the New World Order, and a new world concerning the entire globe must have order and laws and regulations. Now, what way would it be to start if you didn't respect the laws that already exist? You want law and order in your new world? Then respect that law. You must face the Nuremberg trials, you and Mr. Bush, because Iraq was, by law, under the Nuremberg rulings, an illegal criminal act. Take the bitter pill. Prove to humanity that you're a man of your word. Make that great sacrifice, or be considered a fool. Your choice.